law that, so once you go, now that this is done, now that gives the authority to these places. So, hey, you can just call them up and you can get a plate for whatever vehicle you want, right? You don't have to go through all that stuff. Does that kind of make sense? Because if there is no law, they can't do it. So there has to be an act, but it can't be a public act because that only applies to the public. So a private act, the fee simple aren't allowed to see it. Well, that's strange. Equity can't see or determine common law. What's a private act? A private act is common law, right? You can't. This is kind of, you see how it's all falling into the exact same curriculum or framework all the way down. Like, it does not change. It stayed the same from the feudal land tenure, right, till today. It's still the exact same. The only thing that's different is the equity, because they had to create all their own laws for them to be able to do what they're doing, right? So
manage all
that's why common law died in 1925, right? Because it took up to from 1535 to 1925, right? That's how long it took them to create all these new laws for these new jurisdictions. So equity, right, was out where there was pretty much a law of equity that took up the place of common law in everything that in all the major areas of law. And then by 1985, they had everything, and now they're creating things that have never even been thought of before. Right? And it's just getting worse and worse and worse. Right? So that's also about this jurisdiction, because every jurisdiction has to make its own laws for itself. Right? So if you, at the time of your court case, and if you get into which you shouldn't, but I want to bring this up just because it's very important. If you start proclaiming things that you're going to be bound by, and you get that written into this private act, guess what? You're fucking bound by those laws until you change them again. Don't make any agreements. You don't have to make agreement with them with anything, and that's why all these gurus that try to say, well, oh yeah, I was forced to sign a non-disclosure agreement, blah, blah, fuck you. It's just, this is just so ridiculous. Any of those things, it's not even funny. And we can see that by how this entire system is set up. Right? Like, there is no non-disclosure agreement because it's your vested right. They cannot tell you no.
Listen, if anyone's asking you to fucking sign something like that, it's because there's no trust. And if they can't trust you, how the fuck can you ever trust them? It goes simple as that, really.
It's beyond that. You have no agreement. There is no law between you people. The law is now the law of nature. Your absolute rights of man that they agree with and you agree with too. Right? So until you come to a situation that actually needs an agreement made by it, right? You don't make that agreement. You wait till that time and you make them and you take the amount of time that you need to go over it all. So if they want to make that agreement, it's like, okay, well, you finalize that. Well, let's finish this first, and then we'll get to that after. Because this is not determined on that. Right? Like, you have to vest this and you have to do this. Right? That is not, the vesting is not determined on me fucking saying that you can have my third child or something. Right? It's not going to happen. Right? Don't proclaim laws, because now you're bound by them. Right? You see what I'm getting at? So we can all
make no agreement.
Well, don't make any agreement with them that you don't fully understand, is what I'm trying to get at. Because we're always going to have to make agreements, and we always have to abide by them. And the biggest thing is that we have to realize, if we make an agreement today and we didn't understand everything to it, and we still made that agreement, you're the idiot for making the agreement, for not understanding everything that you should have, and you still made the agreement anyway. Right? That's the point that I'm trying to get across. right? You're showing you're an idiot by accepting something you don't fully understand. I cannot read your mind. I don't know what you learned. I don't know everything that you've gone through in your life, right? So I don't know that if you understand what I'm saying or not. So if you don't understand something, you better come and fucking clarify it with me. Because that's the only way I know. Right? And that's why ignorance doesn't work. Because at any time, and like, how am I supposed to know what you know and don't know? So you can say tomorrow that, I didn't know that, and fuck, go screw yourself. Sorry, but you should have brought that up at the time of the agreement, or you shouldn't have made the agreement. And that's why the courts are doing what they're doing. Because we still made these agreements. Whether we were ignorant about everything that's attached to them and everything else, that's not the point. The point is you made this agreement. And now you're not even doing anything remotely possible to figure out what the agreement is, right? And how to remove it. Because it's not written in stone, right? It's written on paper, right? And all these things are written in English law like that for a reason, right? Because there's the basic fundamentals that, sure, you can make an agreement and be wrong, right? You don't have to live with it. But you don't have the right to screw the other person over either.
I've seen someone using a little tactic, and it was to say when they send the first notification into the court, it was like, I do admit that there is an agreement in place, but now I've come to realise that this agreement is causing me a casual form of harm.
Exactly.
And I would like this agreement to stop.
Yeah.
And I'm just letting anyone know now, if they've got anything to say about me stopping this agreement, well, now's the time to come forth. And if not, you better keep your mouth shut till the end of the time.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And basically that's what he was sending them. And he was putting it in the most childish language possible. And the reason he was doing that was because all the big words are already bound in the jurisdictions, aren't they? So that's why he was keeping it to words that we're not coming up in law, but we're still the same meaning.
so when really, we get
and another reason why you might have been keeping it childish, William, is because you don't get bound by English law until you're 7. So maybe them words that we use around them times is its own jurisdiction. Crazy way of looking at it, but still turns their side on their head, doesn't it?
Hey, crazy as look at this was thought up in 1066, and people today still can't wrap their head around it. So
crazy is as crazy does.
Exactly. you can't make this shit up, and they did in 1066, right? And they've been raping us every which way from Sunday, right? Since
I'd say they didn't fucking make it up then. As the law was written later on, weren't it? As you say all the time, it catches up, and it took them a fucking long time to work out how they could write it and not make themselves look like bastards. Well, I mean, the slightest of words they use, the inconvenience.
It's their own fucking fault, though. Look at what they're doing to people. It should be as simple as you going up into the court and saying, fine, I did that before I released this, so you can punish me for that, but everything after this, go fuck yourself. But they're not even accepting that, right? So they made it so equity can really hurt people by being ignorant, right? It's very dangerous when it doesn't when it shouldn't be that way, right? There should be no such thing as this OPCA litigant stuff, because they're all right. But they're all wrong because they're trying to say that same thing applies through all of it. But if we take out what all the right things that the gurus are saying and put them in the proper jurisdiction and everything else, it's right? Yeah. So because these guys have a few things confused and everything else, right? They make it so it's this huge, terrible thing and everything else. And right, it's because it's a scam and they want to keep it going. Right? Things are going to be getting really bad here soon. And fucking people think that losing their lands and stuff are bad.